people are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Do not come. Do not come. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Sunday, the shit show. The shit show.
Yes, happy post-birthday as
Thank
well.
you. Do I look a lot older? Wiser.
You do. No. Of course not. Yeah, well, wiser, yes. We'll give you the wiser
Definitely
part,
wiser.
sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I missed you. It was weird not having a show on Wednesday, gotta say.
I know.
Like
It's once a year. You deserved it.
Yeah, thank you.
A little break.
A little break.
How was it? What did you guys do?
It was really nice, actually. Thank you for asking. It was very warm here. We went to the beach. We went to, it's just like one calamity after another. And I was hoping we could go to a restaurant near the beach that we always would go to, have been going to, like with my kids and everything. And it is still closed down because of the Palisades fire. Even though it's not like right in the Palisades.
Right.
Enough people were affected and have probably had to, temporarily relocate. But, that was January. That was the beginning of January. We're now mid-April. And like, we're not even talking about the Palisades, let alone Altadena and the Eaton fires, which is not like the wealthy elite people who are going to be able to, keep going.
Right.
So yeah, there were a lot of things like that where I was kind of like, oh, wow, it's $15 to park by the beach. Like, that's a crazy amount of money because it's where we were. The Santa Monica beach is not like considered like the she beach, it's just like regular people. And it was so nice to see like all these kids and adults playing and swimming and running around. And I was like, why does anybody have ownership over this land? Why do we pay to park? Why is it so dirty here all the time? But actually the bathrooms were really nice. They have all these bathrooms. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But like if it's $15 to park, it kind of means like the poorer people are paying the same amount as the rich people who have their own like fancy places anyway on Malibu. So I was like, right. I was going through a lot of stuff. Like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, well,
and yet it was like each part of it was a commentary on capitalism.
And that's just life everywhere now. And it's not even summer. I mean, we're talking about the fire problem from January.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the hottest summer on record, like we will every single summer going forward.
Yep.
And a less functional government every single week going forward as well.
Progress.
Less social services. So that parking is going to be $25 next year.
Yep.
With like surge pricing, like, big weekend is going to be like $50.
Totally. Totally. So, yeah. And then like people fishing where like it really is dirty water, like so much so that I don't know that I would actually submerge my whole body in the water. Like, every time it rains, there's raw sewage just dumped into like there's always an overflow and it's always right at Santa Monica. Like, I don't know. It just like it does not have to be this way, which is so frustrating. But it was my birthday and I was trying to stay in a good mood. So I tried
to let it go.
I held it all in so I could like vomit it out right now. I didn't want every part of my birthday to be me criticizing something about
I got you.
The way our society works. But yeah, it was, but we had a lot of fun and it was very low key, but really nice. So yeah. How was your Wednesday without me?
Oh, when you're gone, I turn into a capitalist. I've just been spending money left and right. Honestly, like my headphones crapped out, so I got some new headphones.
Oh, I thought my
phone crapped out, so I got a new phone. And since I was spending money, I'm like, hey, why don't I just buy a new electric bike? So I bought another electric bike. So
okay. Oh wow, that really okay. The other two, I feel like those were necessary. The electric bike, I don't know. You need two electric bikes. Interesting.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to sell the other one or just hang on to it until I live somewhere that doesn't require going up and down the stairs with it. But it's like almost 150 pounds. And like, I'm a strong guy, but like eventually that's going to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I find myself not using it as much as I should. So I bought an ultralight for this one.
Oh, that makes sense.
Up and down real quick. And
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked on it. So we'll see.
You say you're a socialist and you're participating in capitalism.
In society.
In society. How dare you?
I know that reminds me, this week I was getting heat for saying I was a socialist, and all these people are like, you should just be a communist. And then, you must not read enough or you'd be a communist. And like, do you realize how immature that position is, that you are assuming that I haven't read enough to know the difference between socialism and communism?
Right.
Or else I would just be a communist. Like,
ACAB includes, no, don't police my affiliations. Right.
Yeah.
People are
I just
funny.
find a lot of leftist stuff like that really annoying me lately. Like going after people. Like I also got heat for saying I was at Burger King the other day. And I never go to Burger King, but it was on the BDS boycott list, and I missed that, or I wouldn't have gone. But I'm like, okay. But then I have like 5 screeds of people on my tweet saying, how dare you, you're an idiot, just all the shit. And I'm like, man, I literally just said I didn't know that, so I'm gonna fix that and not go there anymore. And here you are, like, coming
still
after
having
me.
to
It's just
give me your opinion. Yeah, it's not exactly coalition building, but
right. And that's the whole thing, is we need to build some coalitions for shit. And here you are. I don't care if you're right, but if you're coming at somebody that's going to be an ally like that, I don't want to hear what you have to say about the next thing.
I totally agree with you, and we're going to get into this when we do our cheers. But I often find myself on the other side of this argument with the people I'm very close to, who are like, believe everything I believe, and yet when it comes down to it, like, they can sort of compartmentalize and maybe walk through life differently, or maybe still vote for the Democrat just because of the lesser evil, like all that kind of stuff. And they find my screeds too purity focused. So I don't know. It's a hard line.
Yeah,
but I mean, I would never do that to you. Obviously, that's so shitty. After you've said, like,
I think that's the point. It's like if a centrist that I was trying to reach out to was doing something, they're like, oh, I didn't know that, I'm going to do that now. Like, then you don't then like, just
could you ever exactly.
Like, hey, you got a win there, buddy. Like,
I totally agree. Yeah. That's not the way I do it. And yet probably the people who feel the same way about me think I do. So I don't know.
No, I get it.
I
mean, I try to look at things.
I have to figure out what's the proper way. But yes, no, I would never do that. That's crappy. Of course, that doesn't help anybody. Okay, quickly, just please make sure to like and subscribe. Smash that notification bell. Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, for my birthday. 40. Somebody who said to me, actually, like, oh, I didn't know you were 40. Yeah, it's going to be a thing. That's hilarious. 40. We want to thank all of our members. Thank you, our pup heroes and sheroes, for your sponsorship. It is meaningful to us beyond words. Thank you. We really, really appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers. Not that anybody cares, but I'm drinking Facial Recognition.
Oh my God.
By Bike Dog. It's delicious. Recommend it.
That's so funny. I'm assuming it's an ironic title, but that's just crazy that that's like such a part of our existence now, huh?
Yeah. This is Bike Dog is also a good local brewer. I think the owner was or still is a vet. I think he's a retired veterinarian.
Right.
But, very cool. Dog-friendly place, obviously.
That's nice. That's nice.
Check it out if you're in Sac.
Oh, that's a different kind of facial recognition then.
Well, no, it's actually a skull and a guy taking a mask off.
Oh, all right.
So
then it is what
okay. It's a statement. It's some sort of statement.
All right. So our cheers is going to be heavily qualified in the post-clip conversation. But for right now, it is a little snippet of a performance last night at Coachella by Green Day.
Running away from pain like the kids from Palestine. Just from our love broken.
Okay. That was the whole of it. And I was watching it live with Josh. I mean, not at Coachella, but on TV. And this is exactly what happened. He looked, because we both love Green Day. And he looked at me and he was like, isn't that so cool? And I was like, where the fuck have they been for 18 months? So that's why I'm always the least popular person in every room. But like, where have you been? There was another performance they gave in Malaysia in February where, and I mean, I don't have to show it, but anyway, you know, the main singer, Billy Joe Armstrong. Sorry, my brain, it just went blank. Is where, you know, he puts on to the same song, Jesus of Suburbia, puts a Palestinian flag around himself and changes a couple of the lyrics. So do you want to say something first? Because I have so much I want to say, but I don't want to.
No, I mean, I have mixed feelings about them. I've mentioned it before. They have a coffee shop in Oakland.
Oh, okay.
They brew their own coffee or grind their own coffee, source and sell it. But it's a very ethically owned place. The bags are biodegradable. It's like sort of innovative, and it's amazing coffee. But didn't they also tell us to vote for Biden? So I don't know. Did
they? I didn't know that. I assume. I mean,
bag of stuff,
like anti-Trump and MAGA, and they're really vocal about that.
Right.
They're really vocal about that. So I feel like if you're not doing what Macklemore does, and I can almost not name, I mean, Susan Sarandon, like I'm thinking of people in the entertainment industry who've been really outspoken from the beginning. That feels like less than an ally. That said, seeing how that wasn't even 15 seconds, but okay, how that was received online from the pro-Palestinian community, and how like people were really moved by it, you know? And then there's another group who I don't know, and apparently, but they also had tried, let me just get up here. They are called Kneecap. Their feed was cut as they were trying to chant pro-Palestinian chants. I don't know what they were saying because it was cut and it's not even described in here. They were also saying things about Margaret Thatcher. They are a rap trio, a rap band from Ireland. Not the only. Okay, so here it says Coachella stream reportedly cut after leading anti-Thatcher chant. And they quote tweet it and say, not the only thing that was cut. Our messaging on the US-backed genocide in Gaza somehow never appeared on screens either. Back next Friday, Coachella, and it'll be sorted. Palestinian flag. Is that good morning to everyone who packed out the tent? I don't know what grima is. Sorry, my ignorance. And Hassan Piker says, I have an idea on how we can ensure it doesn't get cut. Let's collaborate. Okay, that's awesome. Like, that's great. So then I'm like, well, maybe if they'd kept it longer, their feed would have gotten cut and we would have totally missed that moment. So maybe that was a logistical
strategic move.
Somehow. Yeah, strategy possibly. But again, like 18 months, probably they could, you know, because again, they're very outspoken about Trump and MAGA. And if it really is policy that you're worried about, you could have been just as outspoken during Biden's regime. So I don't know. I'm conflicted.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess I'm conflicted too. I want to look, the more people that get on board and say the smallest thing now, the better. So like the actress that did last week that we covered,
Rachel Ziegler, maybe.
Rachel Ziegler. Yeah. You know, look at all the like her career might be over from that, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. But I think musicians, they live in they don't need to get hired. They just need to be able to fill a place. So it's a little easier, I think, for a musician especially of stature already, like you can do these things on your own. You don't need a PR team to promote your movie in this, so I don't know.
I know,
I do expect more.
It's really hard. The other thing that I thought was interesting was Charlie SEX, and I don't know any of her music, but there was a whole brouhaha apparently because she wasn't the headliner for last night. Green Day was, and so her fans ahead of time were like, why would this group of old nobodies, who came up in the 90s be headlining when we've got Charlie SEX right here? And she even wore like a sash that said Miss Headliner or something, at Coachella last night. And then I looked, and the difference, like on their Spotify downloads, I think it's a difference between like 32 million followers for Green Day and 30 million for Charlie SEX. But like the song Jesus of Suburbia, which is their number one hit, has over 1 billion. I think it's like a 1.5 billion listens on Spotify, and hers is at like 500 million. Both numbers sort of blow my brain.
Right.
But so like maybe that those moments are so important. And as you said, like they're popular enough and making enough money that they won't get shut down. But also, I mean, I see people saying, and I think you're probably right. Like people are getting threatened. I mean, I don't know. It's really disappointing to see. Yes. Okay. And by the way, the Game of Thrones actors have been speaking out the whole time. I feel like they've been really good on this, since October 2023, they've been speaking out. But I do think
can I just throw in there that I was at the country where they filmed Game of Thrones a couple years ago, which I can't even remember the name of the damn country.
Is that the end of the story? Is that the whole thing?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No.
Is it
I want
New
to throw that
Zealand?
in there. No, my God. It's a
Bulgaria?
Oh my God. Somebody help me in the comments. I'm never going to live this one down.
Like you broke into the conversation to say this point?
More or less, but
bare minimum, Pat. Bare minimum.
But it was really interesting when I was there to talk. We hired a local cab driver instead of something from the tour thing. And they gave us the local history and talked about stuff that you don't hear about in the news about why this country hates Russia or loves Russia and why they, I don't know, whatever. I don't even know where I'm going with any of this. I'm still stuck on the fact that I couldn't remember the country I was in.
Nope. Cora says Croatia.
Croatia. Thank you very much.
Oh, there you go.
Amazing country.
Good job, Pat. Well done. Yes, I have heard that. I would love to go travel there. Okay. So talking about, so Justin saying someone's going to scream bare minimum about Green Day, but it made it out and pissed the right people off. Maybe more should do the bare minimum. Totally agree with that. I just feel like their voice is important. They have, over 1 billion downloads of a song, and it helps normalize speaking out against a genocide, which shouldn't have to have normalization anyway. I understand why it does. I understand that, like, if you're completely canceled, then what good are you anyway? But I don't think that would happen with Green Day, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're big enough to survive it, and they've made enough money to survive it, even if there was a consequence. So, throw your weight around a little bit and make some noise.
Yeah.
But I still want to give them some credit for it. So I'm not going to.
Well, me too. Like which is, yeah. I mean, that's why we chose that clip. Like, mostly it was awesome to see the response. Because as we all know, the people are on the side of the Palestinians, right? Like,
yeah, if Green Day wants to sell more albums, they should lean in harder to this message. Let's be honest.
I mean, I know. Well, so here's and then because we're probably not going to do much on Democrats this week because they're not doing much. But the one thing, and this kind of bleeds into what we're talking about, of like coalition building and what purpose does it serve, even if the messenger isn't always living up to expectations, is Bernie Sanders had a rally. his biggest rally ever in Los Angeles yesterday, 36,000 people showing up. And then he did, I mean, he's 83 years old, does that, and then hops on I don't even know how he got there, goes to Coachella and comes out on stage to talk to, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people who are there cheering him on, which is amazing, because they're not cheering him, I think, because like, oh, you're the savior. They're cheering the things he's saying. And again, I do not want to be the opposite of a coalition builder. And yet,
yeah, I mean, if Bernie can roll back the clock and be 10 years younger, even after all his bullshit, I would vote for him still.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a chance to run, and he's doing two things. He's waking people up in a good way, but then the second part of his message is going to be, so now that you're awake, yeah, we still got to vote for Kamala Harris or, Pete Buttigieg. And look, we don't have time to wait for the midterms. Even we got to stop shit now. We got to stop ICE from deporting people now. We got to stop them from cutting every social service that we have now. We can't wait for an electoral solution for any of that right now.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. You have tens of thousands of people across millions of people, but at every stop, he and AOC, and then the other sort of, lower recognition people are getting all these crowds. So, and then what? Like, for what? What?
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, imagine he goes to these crowds, and each crowd he has a direct action. Like, hey, in your town here in Coachella, we know that these groups right here are doing this evil thing. Let's stop them by doing this tomorrow. I want all of you to pledge to spread the word to your friends that we're not shopping at these Israeli funding places, or we're not, like direct, not just some vague, the billionaires, the 5%. We've all heard that shit forever. And it's great that new people are getting that message for the first time. But can we accelerate to what you do with the message? Because everybody already buys his message. That's why he's already so fucking popular. Right. Now, what do we do with it?
Yeah. We've got everybody here together. What's the direct action? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in Sacramento this week, right? And everybody keeps asking me, am I going? I'm like, no, I've heard his shit. What am I going to get out of going listening to him again?
Yeah.
Not a single fucking thing. It's great if you haven't heard him go. But at this point, if you don't know his message, I don't know what to fucking tell you either. Like,
yeah. Well, okay. So then that's the other thing where I'm like, I didn't go either, obviously. But do you like, by showing up, you're endorsing it, and you're showing that this is the message that has wide popular support. But then it's like, well, They don't care. That's why they worked harder to stop Bernie. They didn't even put any thought into stopping Trump. Like, Democrats put all their energy into stopping the biggest mass movement of, everybody under 40, every different color, sex, creed, religion, everything under 40. That's where the future was. And that's what Democrats put all their effort into stopping. And, I was listening to, well, now I can't even remember who I was listening to. Oh, I think I was listening to Branko Marcetic talking to, on current affairs, Nathan Robinson. And he was like, everybody knew that Obama didn't want Biden to be president, didn't want him to run in 2016, dissuaded him, didn't come out to endorse him through all of the primaries, did not believe that, what do you say? Never underestimate Biden's ability to fuck things up or whatever. Like, not a fan of Biden. Then he moves mountains to crush Bernie to make sure that Biden becomes president. That's how much Democrats hate everything that Bernie talks about, whether or not Bernie himself is well equipped to be the person to take us there. He's not, obviously. But like, that's the thing that they all want to stop.
Yeah. And I agree with you that, numbers at these rallies are a marker for the public, right?
Right.
Like it's hey, look how popular Bernie is. Everybody agrees with Bernie. And maybe that can have some effect on people. But if he gets out there and starts saying, we're doing this and that tomorrow, I'll show up and be a number at these things.
Yeah.
And I, I would want everybody to do that. Like it, because then it's effectively like, hey, this is a direct vote for this direct action.
Right.
But right now, the end game with all of it is it's just going to be whatever the lesser evil solution is going to be it. And, he keeps telling people, we're going to vote independent now. Well, vote for independent people, but don't talk to Jill Stein. Don't be a Green Party person. Don't
Yeah. All right. Should we spin the wheel?
Yeah, let's spin the wheel.
All right.
Do it.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Bring us some joy.
Bring us some joy. Oh, look at that.
All right, here we go.
No, God, please, no, 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 no.
I'm not saying don't be religious. I'm saying don't make your religion your entire identity. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? And don't let other people use your religion as a weapon, which is what is happening today. And who's doing that? Politicians. Politicians have taken religion and they've weaponized it, right? They've got us hating each other because of our religion. You see that happening? Yeah. In India, we're all hating each other because of our religion, which I think is so stupid. Don't hate somebody because of their religion. Hate them because of who they really are on the inside. Right? Because if you spend enough time with any human being, they will give you plenty of reasons to hate them. Right? Some people call that marriage. Right? But it's true. You spend enough time with anybody, they will give you plenty of reason to hate them. And then you will realize that both of you worship the same God. Yeah. It's the politicians, man. We need to stop hating each other and we need to start hating politicians. Do you agree? Yeah. There is a reason why they're called public servants. Not public masters. Servants. Treat them like one. There's one thing Indians are good at. It's treating people like servants. Am I right? Yeah? Now go wash my car. Yeah.
Danny Fernandez.
Danny. No, he's a funny guy.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
All right, Pat. You gonna take us forward?
Take us forward. Let's roll in some cat videos. So what are we doing here?
All right. Talk about we missed the initial tweet that was the operation is over. That was the initial rollout of tariffs. And the comforter in chief, Donald J. Trump, the operation is over. The patient lived and it's healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. All caps. Then?
And obviously, so the whole week, this whole thing, he announced it was over. We're done. Yeah. We did it. His staff was on TV with mixed messaging the whole time. They keep asking people, is this a negotiating tactics? Is this the art of the deal? Yep. No. This is it. It's a real thing. It's locked in.
But then half of them were like, yeah, it's a negotiating tactic. And then Trump kind of said that both sides were wrong and comforted us once again with only the weak will fail. I mean, if you base your voting ideology on tweets, I understand why you would prefer Biden to Trump. Heart emoji. Okay, that was the only week. Then he doubles down on that. United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a PANICAN. And then there's a little explainer, a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result.
Don't be a PANICAN. So a PANICAN is supposed to be somebody who's panicked about the stuff, but it's a new party. Like, how is it a new? The logic of it is just hot garbage.
Well, because I think he realized, like, a lot of Republicans, even MAGA people, were upset. So he couldn't just say Democrats, right? I mean, I think that must be where it's from. Like, otherwise he could just be like, oh, you know, Pelosi and Schumer, whatever, you know, but he didn't. And I think it's because he was getting a lot of pushback from his own, well, high up donors, but also supporters, because all of a sudden they're like, wait, what's happening? It's a tax on the poor. They understand that. They know that.
Well, it's two things. It's a tax on the poor. So the people that really need to get the MAGA votes don't like how unpopular all this is. Because if there's one thing the public has already gotten burned into their brains, it's tariffs are bad. Like, it's a reality. Yep. Tariffs are a tax on the public. Most people get that. Most people understand that all your goods and services are going to go up from all this. But the reason he got pushed back by the regular folks, not the poor and middle class folks, is he's costing these billionaires money left and right. That's why the whole week this strategy changed. That's why Elon Musk even and these billionaires are like, fuck. Like, I can't support this. This is not good.
The S&P is plummeting, right? Just like falling off a cliff. And so in a last ditch effort, I mean, this is so vile, at 6:30 in the morning, this is a great time to buy DJT. Get in there and buy. And then parades people he just helped make billions of dollars by alerting them to the fact that everything's plummeted, go buy. That people like Charles Schwab made a killing.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad. He's in financials. I've always been.
First of all, he's like listening to, like, I don't know why I was about to say my grandmother, who like she would never even say this, but so anyway, but you know, it's not just a business, it's also a person, Charles Schwab. Imagine that. You can be a business and a person with the same name, like Trump Towers.
Like you. Literally you dumb fuck.
$2 billion in one day. And the other guy just shy of $1 billion.
Yeah, and he's just, look, I don't think he had a plan from the jump to extract all this wealth for these people. But once he fucked up, they had to come up with a way to get the money back for these people. And it was, hey, I'm going to put this out there. We know exactly the market's going to love that I'm pulling off the tariffs. So that's obviously going to be a time to buy, and the stocks are all going to shoot up. And so they all got rich off it. But who didn't get rich is the wealth they extracted from regular old Americans. Like, when these top people are making billions of dollars, that those billions are coming from somebody else directly. 100%. And they're also coming from these poor people. Wow, there's a $5,000 increase expected on most people from all these tariffs.
Yep.
$5,000 of extra expenses for every single person in America based on the tariffs.
And obviously, Charles Schwab, that's like, you don't even notice that. That could fall off you 20 times a day, an hour, and you wouldn't even notice. But for the rest of the people, that's, you know, a month's salary or more. It's disgusting. And there's no
It's disgusting. And there's none of this is going to be, they're not going to sell this to the public. It's not going to work to sell this tariff scam to the public. I mean, I was just shopping yesterday, guy in front of me, everybody talks about egg prices. Well, he had eggs, and the whole thing was about eggs and prices and the money. And he lived in Mexico, and it's way cheaper in Mexico. He's got a house there too, you know, and we're in like a cheap Smart and Final grocery store, you know, like, but they're having a discussion about politics in the grocery line because of the prices.
Yeah.
Like, so everybody gets like the poor people feel this more now than ever. Like you can't just wave some MAGA shit in front of them when they can't. Groceries are already too fucking expensive.
Right.
Part of why they elected Trump is they bought his bullshit about lowering prices. Now he's trying to sell this message of like, well, you guys can pay some more short term for these things. You know?
You're only going to fail if you're weak and stupid. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Eat cereal for breakfast. For dinner. That's what we were told. Skip breakfast, eat cereal for dinner. Under Biden, that's what we're being advised. So it was a complete shit show of chaos, of the crazy list of tariffs. Then he pulls them all back, gives it a 90-day reprieve, but maybe they'll come back. So it is sort of negotiating then, but slaps like what, 140% tariff on China. And that becomes a whole thing. Then China says they're not going to be exporting any of their rare minerals, which we need for production of phones and cars and apparently everything we own. So there's no plan to bring any manufacturing back in Trump's plan, and no owner of manufacturer of a plant or any sort of facility can make a long-term plan based on a 90-day reprieve with this Yahoo in the White House telling you that it's just, so yeah, like what is the way forward? They're just going to keep stealing all of our resources.
The media has been terrible about this whole thing, though. I just want to throw that in there because they're acting like, okay, he caved and he went back down on all this stuff, so it's going to be okay now. Well, of all the tariffs, the one that really matters is China, and he just increased that even more. So like this whole like, well, he caved and he backed down on all those tariffs. No, the ones he backed down on are at a flat 10%. Yeah. So even that, when we were used to dealing with countries at 0 to 1 to 2%, I mean, we're talking about that's the margin most tariffs existed at before this. And tariffs always have to be individualized with countries because you don't want a eat fair trade with a country that has one product you buy.
Right. Or a very poor country.
None of it makes sense.
That isn't going to be like, because I think a lot of it was based on, we import so much more from them, like a trade deficit, which is different than they import from us. Well, they're a really poor country. They're not going to, like, what are we exporting anyway from here?
They can't buy our shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, this poll wasn't so interesting because I'm happy to see that most people interviewed thought that tariffs will have a harmful effect on the economy. 72%. I do think that the way MSNBC did their graph here, or maybe it was Quinnipiac, is really a strange, like we were talking about this before, but it reminds me of the, Bernie primary days where it was like, coming in at number 3 is Pete Buttigieg, and was, it's like those bar graphs should look a little different, right?
And I mean, that there's a lot to unpack in that stupid small little graph, but like the fact that 22% of the country says they think it's going to help short term, like even if tariffs worked somehow as a solution, there is no 0.0% short term that they work. They're not even meant to. Like it's supposed to be a short term pain in theory. So that's 22% of the public that doesn't know fuck all about anything.
I mean, I'm surprised it's that low, actually. But yes, I agree with you 100%. So the way that both parties, the muckety mucks in both parties, have been trying to make sense of this. Well, first of all, Democrats are like, tariffs are wrong always. And the other thing that they're saying on both sides of the aisle is Americans don't want these jobs. They keep saying that. Like, why bring manufacturing back here? Why would we produce anything back here? Americans don't want these jobs. So the polls, and this was a Frank Luntz, he put this out, manufacturing someone's American dream, just not mine. And the bar graphs are, in agreement, percent in agreement. Americans are the blue, that's all Americans. And the red is Republican and Republican leaning Americans. America would be better off if more Americans worked in manufacturing. So that's at, 80% and above in agreement. And then I would be better off if I worked in a factory, and that's at about 20%. So there's a huge disparity there. And, of course, it's the Cato Institute, the progressive Cato Institute issuing that. But I see a lot of pundits on both sides of the corporatist aisle talking about this because it's a way of excusing themselves for, voting for the TPP and NAFTA and offshoring American jobs. Nobody wants those jobs, is what they're going to keep saying, which is not the point of any of this. But that's where they're going to try to divert people's focus.
Right. It's such a mixed bag because, look, those jobs don't pay shit. They're terrible jobs.
But they used to.
Here.
You could
exactly.
be a factory worker, and one person could buy a house for the family. Your kids could go to college. That was the American dream. I mean, nobody, of course, most people don't love working in a factory, but again, they parcel it out just to one thing, but it doesn't.
That's why I'm saying it's such a mixed bag, because if you did have a $25 minimum wage, for example,
35,
and that's your factory job, great. People would say yes. Look at all the people that are desperate to work at Amazon facilities. Fucking terrible shit job. But the wages, they're passable for some people because they're paying more than the minimum wage in some places because they have to, because their PR is so bad, because there's Amazon unions are fighting them. But that's a job. But when you say we're going to bring manufacturing back, and people know what these jobs are, we're talking about stitching shoes and things, and you're going to try to get American workers to do that kind of stuff. You better pay them, but they know that you're not going to get that money in the US. You're going to get $7.35 minimum wage,
Well, that's why it's all so dishonest. Again, from both parties, because
and
most people don't actually like their jobs. Most people don't like their jobs. And fine, if it's going to be AI or robots or whatever doing this, which is what the whole industrial revolution on some level was supposed to be, like a upgrade to manufacturing that involved fewer people, then you pay people really well. You give them a UBI. You make sure it's union. You make sure that their retirement isn't attached to the stock exchange, so that when some asshat in power tanks the whole economy, it's not going to affect what you've been putting away or what you've been forced to put away through, your what you have to give through every paycheck. But again, there's no comprehensive, even from the opposition party, shocking Democrats, to great. Let's bring, again, most people don't like sitting in a cubicle, preferable to being a coal miner, of course. I get it, of course. But most people don't love their jobs. What they want is to be able to make a thriving wage, have security, be able to put their kids through college, own a home, take a vacation, have their nights and weekends off, all of these things that we've just thrown away. So when you say, let's bring factories back, but you're not mentioning that in the heyday, people were actually, making good wages and were protected in those jobs.
Yeah, but also, look, I think the bottom line on all of it is, in no world are we going to bring manufacturing back and not have it be 99% robots and AI and shit.
Right.
It makes no sense to invest in a new facility that relies on human labor when you can do robotic labor for nothing long term. So people who have worked manufacturing jobs, they've saw their own staff get cut in half, third, they've seen this. So the idea that these people are just dumb and buy this narrative about we're going to bring manufacturing back.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but we do need to bring manufacturing back. We do need to employ people. What we need to do is cut out the bullshit jobs, like what Graeber talked about, these jobs that are just spinning wheels, pushing papers, stapling, those middle management jobs. And again, there has to be a serious conversation about the profit that's going to the CEO class, that's being made off the backs of everything that they have has been researched and developed off of our money, off of taxpayer citizen money. We all deserve that. So just like the CEO isn't stitching together Nike shoes, like whatever he makes from that, we get like there has got to be a serious discussion about redistribution, and Democrats aren't going to be able to fight whatever this is if they don't have, or whoever the opposition, whoever wants to fix this is not going to be able to, unless there is like the answer is redistribute the money and tax the hell out of the 5%. That's the answer. Or
yeah, I mean, look,
reverse.
we're faced with some realities though, that manufacturing, you know, if this continues, we need manufacturing back here in a big way, right?
Right.
If we're doing this tariff trade war, which we are on some level, no matter what, right? So that leaves us with we need something that we can't get without pushing for stuff like UBI and, you know, because they're just not going to go for people instead of robots for these positions.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just more cutting of jobs when they build these, when they bring manufacturing back, unless we change the whole dynamic of the system, that in itself is going to cut jobs, not create jobs.
Yeah. Well,
so we need to create a society where we are funding each other. We cut down the work week to 30 hours. So places have to pay people. So they have to have employees on longer because that guy can only work 30 hours, you know?
Right.
We need to be pushing more in that direction, in my opinion, and a UBI of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, it's been what, almost 5 decades in the making. So it's really hard to know how we're going to get the change we need. And the thing about like everything taking such a long time is so wildly upsetting and frustrating, because we know that the second they want their pal Charles Schwab to make $2 billion in a day, you just put out a tweet and fix it, right? So like, I thought it was interesting, Tim Cook talking about Chinese labor and how different it is from US labor. Take a quick listen.
There's a confusion about China, and let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor costs. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. The reason is because of the skill, the quantity of skill in one location, and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling, and the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art. And the tooling skill is very deep here. You know, in the US you could have a meeting of tooling engineers and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China you could fill multiple football fields. It's that vocational expertise is very deep, very, very deep here.
I mean, the low-cost labor comment, I was like, really? Like, was he comparing it to India? Or, I mean, like, where is he trying to bottom barrel it even more? I don't know all of the labor cost issues, but clearly that was the incentive to offshore all of American jobs.
Yeah. Well, I know a little bit about this niche. What niche? I don't know. So my graduate degree is in industrial design, which involves understanding all the different processes that you can put towards building a product.
Right. Like,
do we put in stamping tools? Do we extract? Do we stretch things? Do we use injection molding? All these different processes and how you make a thing. That's what when he's talking about tooling, he's talking about not tools, but creating the thing in place to. So my point with that is this goes back to what he was saying last week. It's still like this idea that this is all these jobs. That's like one guy.
Right. Yeah.
That's one guy for one factory, maybe a team of people, but it's not like 50 people always in the factory running the tooling.
Right.
It's the guy at the high level job doing it. It's not a worker level job. It's not a frontline worker. It's not the guy making minimum wage or twice the minimum wage or 3 times or 5 times. It's the guy getting a lot of big bucks to do that. And it's 1 or 2, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even a full-time job. I mean, I'm just being realistic for most of these positions.
I mean, yeah. I think obviously he has an incentive to make it sound like Americans are too uneducated to be able to fill these slots. Sort of like the H-1B visas, right? That they all want to steal the best brains of every country and we just don't have them here. Because they know that when they bring them here, they can abuse them. And, clearly the Trump administration is working really hard to show that any abuse that happened heretofore is only going to be increased, exponentially now just for a thought crime. But the problem is nobody's actually discussing the root problem, which is the pathological greed of the CEO class. And until we get rid of that, until we take that head on, they're going to just keep replacing us and making us feel excited that you have an $18 an hour job at Amazon, which, as Jordan interviewing people on Status Coup, Jordan Sheridan, a couple years ago, those people who work full-time are living in their cars. That's not a living wage, right? So we need a fix to this. And for people to keep talking about now, I think even Bernie says $17 an hour minimum wage. What are you smoking? No, $35 an hour has to be the bottom, because it's not going to be implemented tomorrow. But the ask to say, this is what we're going to fight for, it's $17 an hour. What are you talking about? If we don't have free public education and we don't have free healthcare and we don't have a living wage, none of this matters. None of it. It doesn't matter. We get nothing. Right.
The reality is we do need, as Trump said, a new social contract. It wasn't Trump, actually.
Sam Altman.
Sam Altman, yeah.
OpenAI, yeah.
Yeah, we do need a new social contract, but the social contract is because, okay, if you want manufacturing to be here, the responsible way is going to be to use more robots in a sense, because that's just, these are jobs that are dangerous in a lot of situations, and it's just, you can do it cheap. So let's just embrace as a society, but what goes with that is a social contract that says, hey, everybody can get some kind of job. We got a job guarantee program. Everyone can have their, the rent. No one should have living on the street. There should be shelter. Everyone should have healthcare. And then let's just benefit from all the technology. And then, whatever we need to make as a society, we balance it out with everybody having wages. And so you have to work 40 hours a week. Well, now we got computers. We're down to 32 hours a week. Oh, technology takes off again. Yeah. Well, now we only have to work 20 hours a week. Isn't life getting better for everybody?
Yep.
That's the contract.
Yeah, that's not what they're thinking. But yes, that's the contract you and I would write and all of it. Yeah, exactly. There is enough. We have abundance. And that's the other thing that's going to come in. We're going to hear the Democratic response to this is, we have plenty. We just need to deregulate so our rich pals can, build more housing that's not regulated, that's going to fall apart. There was a lot of response to all these tariff talks by Chinese TikTokers or Red Noters. Should we just show a little bit of it just so we know?
Yeah, I love these guys. I mean, I love them. Even on the manufacturing their side, they're like, hey, I can get around this stuff and you can buy these products from me directly that you're already buying that you think are made in Italy, but it's a purse that we do here, and then it ships over to Italy and they put a little stamp on it.
Yeah, and that's what you're paying the extra
for $20.
$8,000 for. Yeah, exactly.
Do you recognize this style, this bag? Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been the OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world. Gucci, Prada, Coach, Louis Vuitton, you name it. But for this, I am not proud because we were only making our wages. The profit margin for the people who are actually making the bags are very low. What I'm really proud of is that first, we have the best quality control. Two, we have the best craftsmanship. You know, Chinese craftsmen are always intelligent and diligent. Three, we have the most complete supply chain. We always get what we want, like zippers, accessories of any kind, any color, and leathers immediately. Now, as the USA and its little European brothers are trying to refuse Chinese goods, don't you think luxury brands are not trying to move their OEM out of China? Yes, they did, but they failed because the OEM factories out of China, they don't have good quality control and they don't have as good craftsmanship. Their workers are either too expensive or too lazy. Three, they don't have any supply chain. They always have trouble getting leather or zippers or any accessories. That is why they failed, and that is why we will always be the best OEM factory for luxury brands. Why don't you just contact us and buy from us? You won't believe the prices we give you.
Yeah, there was another one. I mean, there's so many. There was another one where it was like a breakdown of what some fancy bag that I guess costs like $4,000 or $5,000 normally, or maybe I don't know what it costs. No, it costs like $8,000. And they were showing like, this is the price tag for the fine leather, the zipper, all these things. Like it actually costs us the labor, $600, whatever. It comes to $1,400. The bag sells for $8,000. And that differential is what we need to attack right there.
Yep.
There was another one where she walks us through and shows all the different places that the OME is original equipment manufacturer. So like they're making these things in China and then it goes to Italy and they stitch in their label, their brand label, and made in Italy because a part of it was made in Italy. And then you have your Fendi bag or your, you know, whatever fancy designer. I never know any of them, but they're just like hoodwinking everybody. But again, it's like that little tag is what gets the CEO of Fendi or Charles Schwab or whoever the hell the extra $6,000 per bag.
Yeah, and the bag doesn't end up saying made in China. It says made in Italy.
Right.
You know, and it's just a big fucking scam the whole way through.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you know, Trump's products are all made in China.
Yeah, I know they should.
You buy a Trump hat, Trump flag, Trump flags. I mean, there was one of these on Trump's, you know, where his stuff is actually made. And they're like, yeah, we have to produce 500 flags a day. You know, and we do it. It costs us like $3 or something, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
and that would cost a lot more if it were a union job here in the US, which is what it should be.
But I don't think that's a reality. I think we need to look for some other solution than bringing back these jobs because they're not going to pay enough to be worth anyone's time here. Sorry.
I understand what you're saying. First of all, yeah, we can't make enemies with every country in the world, which is what, you know, Trump is attempting on some level where there's no trust and there's no continuity because he could change his mind in, you know, 3 months or 2 days or whatever. But I do think there is something about having more of a supply chain, excuse me, here, like, sorry, because we have to produce something here. Like, we can't just produce movies, entertainment, and some car parts.
Well, I mean, the reality is, yeah, that's what's going to happen. A lot of this has to come back here because we're isolating ourselves from the world. And China themselves are making all these agreements with the EU and other countries. Like we are going to be our supply chain is going to suffer more than anyone else's, even though we're one of the most powerful countries in the world still.
Yeah.
But we've lost our negotiating power. Everyone is working around us. And 4 years of this is going to really fucking wreck our country economically.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, China even put out a video of Ronald Reagan in 1987 talking about how tariffs and protecting your own manufacturers actually leads to the worst results. There's no competition. There's no incentive to be creative or to address problems, to come up with anything new, you know. So
Well, you either have a
tweeting out
global,
Reagan.
you either have a global free trade market or you don't. And when you start putting tariffs on it, you wreck the whole system of this whole way this is all supposed to work.
Right.
That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Although, like, I don't think that we should be offshoring our manufacturing because you can get it cheaper because they don't have any worker protections in certain other countries. You know, like that's where I do feel like there has to be an incentive. And I don't totally know how it works, but an incentive to manufacture things here and pay people a thriving wage, like and a union job.
This is one of those back to the root problem kind of things in my mind, right? The root problem is we have these trade deals that allow for this. You know, we do want to take advantage of the resources that are in another country where it's easier for them to make locally and trade to other countries. And that's our supply chain. And then that cotton or whatever it is, copper, for example, that copper goes from this country to the people that make it over here that are really good at the chips that go to us. Like everybody as a society can benefit from this. But these trade deals like NAFTA, they're all written by the companies that make the products. So they have no interest in looking out for the welfare of poor nations. And that's the core problem here. Now, if you had sort of a public good for the world group, in theory, setting up these trade deals, it would look out for the labor force in this country. Is this establishing market or whatever, you know, like, so it's not that the trade is bad. It's that these deals are bad and they don't have these protections in place by design because they're written by the companies that profit from the shit labor, and
they're international companies, right? So like, it's like how the same three companies basically own everything and they own stock in each other's stuff. So they're never going to lose. Like heads I win, tails you lose that's the whole deal. He already did backtrack a little bit on smartphones and electronics. The Trump administration has exempted smartphones and consumer electronics from the tariffs, which doesn't make sense as the author implies by the little blurb here, because, I mean, it does make sense, but Trump said that the tariffs are paid for by China, if you put that on China, which of course that's not true, because otherwise why would he be exempting smartphones and consumer electronics, right? Like he's doing it because he realizes it's going to hit, we will be the ones who are absorbing the extra cost.
But like you said, and the problem with this is that logic should apply to everything we need and not just these phones and things. And he even is sort of backtracking on this, and it's just a ping pong around of like what's going to make the public think some of this is good, and none of it is going to make the public think it's good, because everybody knows it's not.
Everybody knows it's not. And you know, as we've said, even if it were good, the fact that it is so volatile, where he says he's just going to go off his instincts, makes the whole market queasy. And nobody knows what to plan for.
Because I mean, what that actually means is a manufacturer in some country of some mineral, for example, they got to figure out where they're going to sell this shit to, right? And they can't just wait around for him to change things. They got to make a deal with Denmark on how much we're going to sell to Denmark, or because we got this stuff, we got products, we got to move.
South Korea,
right?
Like. Yeah, he's bringing enemies together all over the world. They're all making deals.
And we don't, the entire world does not have a structure in place to deal with this change in tariffs in any reasonable amount of time. So even the blanket 10% is going to fuck up the supply chain severely, because what's going to happen is this copper is going to go to this port, and the port's going to be like, what do? We don't know. We don't have people. Like, we can't track where it came from enough. We don't have the origin stuff. We can't, is it 10% because it's on your, the fine details in all this stuff. We don't have the infrastructure in place around the world to deal with these changes rapidly enough. So it'll take 6 months to a year to get things in place, which means a lot of these products are going to be stuck in ports, not traveling, which translates into everything being more expensive, because if you want that thing that relied on that copper, you don't have the copper. So what the products out there already are going to be twice as expensive.
Exactly. Supply and demand. They're doing it. All right. Should we spin before we move on? Do you have anything else you want to say about tariffs? I mean, there's so much, but like, you know, right.
It's just stupid. I've never really bought into like somebody has some dirt on Trump and so he's doing things a certain way, but like everything he's done is to destroy our economy lately. And so it does make me think like, hey, you got a conspiracy theory, I might buy it, because there's no logic to anything he's doing, even transactionally. Yeah, they got rich off his accidental move with this stuff lately, right. But I don't think there's any.
I don't think that was his initial intention. I think he thinks he's a smart guy, and it's, you know, he ran on it. He's been talking about tariffs forever. He doesn't understand a lot of the things he talks about with the economy, to say that like the trade deficit with certain countries is unfair and people are taking advantage of us. Like, he doesn't seem to understand just some basic
he doesn't, but at the same
parts
time
of how the economy works.
At the same time, I could believe some theory about somebody having some dirt on him and him needing to wreck our economy, because he knows enough to not be doing some of the things he's doing. And I truly believe there could be some weird shit going on here. Like,
you're right. I mean, now you're becoming a Russiagator. No, I'm kidding. It's
no, I know. I don't want to be a Russiagator, but like,
okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just can't look at this stuff and say, okay, yes, his ego drives his moves. He's gotten away with it. So this could just be some stupid ego stuff, and he thinks he can do it. But at the same time,
who does it help and who does it harm? Like, when the economy crashes and people, like, as Zainab is saying, Teal and Yarvin, right? You stabilize the stock market, you buy up all of the land, all of the real estate. It's like a fire sale.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it has to be a conspiracy with the foreign country or something. Right. I'm saying the moves just don't make sense from an economic standpoint. Like, internally, his own people, and I know he's got yes men that just feed him, you know, this all makes sense to me.
Right.
But if it's the tech bros and those guys just trying to get rich and exploit wealth from the poor, sure. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I'm just saying I'm open to conspiracies.
That seems to me like their operating philosophy, but you know, like, everything crashes. It's the disaster capitalism, and he's not running again. He's never cared about working class people. And this, you know, the only person who really, like, obviously the S&P and the Dow and all that affected a certain segment of wealthy people. But then there's the other class of people who want to scoop it all up. And I mean, you know, Musk actually makes quite a bit of his products here in the US, so it is hurting him. But like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I feel like there's going to, like, it's not going to be a Luigi that gets Trump. It's going to be a billionaire that gets Trump.
Yeah.
Because you can't
go down in a helicopter.
It's picking and choosing. And so, yeah, maybe his people get rich transactionally from this stuff.
Right.
But that money isn't just all coming from us. Right now, his moves are hurting global businesses that set up. Some of the businesses that set up these shitty trade deals are the most evil companies on the planet. And they're going to lose by his moves. So that's where I'm like, does somebody have some dirt on him that they force him to do these things that are going to get him killed?
Right. I mean, you might be right. And, you know, I see people talking about Israel and Mossad, but the truth is, if our economy tanks in the US and we can no longer be the primary supplier of weapons and money and, you know, diplomatic cover for Israel, they're going down with us. Like, so I would believe that, like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, but that makes sense though, because as our economy is going down, those are the protected things.
I love you. I just can't wait for the thing. Yeah.
Those are the protected things.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, the manufacturing has to go on, no matter what it costs Democrats or Republicans.
Yeah.
Our own party doesn't care about winning, you know, if you're a Democrat, because we got to protect that.
Yeah.
The weapons, the funding for Israel.
To me, I feel like a little bit we're at the point where the billionaire manufactured his own shoddily made submarine, got in it himself, and plunged to the bottom of the sea. Like, I feel like maybe they just don't even have the intelligence that some of us gave them credit for at one point. But I don't know.
All I'm saying is I'm open to the idea, because there's so much stupid in the world right now that none of this makes any sense, really. So
yeah, I think they know they've destroyed the world, and they want to go out taking it all with them. That's my
but hey, if we can just talk Musk into going up in one of his own rockets, that would be the next step.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, baby.
Just in case you were waiting for permission, you should do a refill or a toke or whatever it is the young people call it, because it's been way too long. I'm on my second now. Go ahead.
Cheers.
What?
Hi. Good morning.
That's so timely, because I wake up to strike every day on top of me on the couch, pouncing somewhere. Like,
is she peeing on you now, or is she?
No.
How's that going?
Yeah,
God, I shouldn't have said it out loud. We're so lucky. There's no traffic.
A couple good months. But what I feel is I can tell when I can feel the paws all in one spot, because she's gathered herself and she's ready to pounce. So I'm like, okay, there's 4 paws together. That means she's going to spring off of me somewhere else, land on my head. And it's always like an hour before I have to get up every day. And I always debate, should I just get the fuck
so
up?
annoying. Yeah. What do you do?
Every day.
Do you get up?
I usually get like 15 minutes of sleep in that hour, you know.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not done with the destruction yet. It's just insane what is happening with being able to deport people. And now they're even talking about possibly deporting US citizens. Okay. So the group of men who were accused of being part of an El Salvadoran, rape gang, according to 60 Minutes, they could not find criminal records for 75% of the 238 men the Trump administration sent to El Salvadoran prison. Of the 22% that had records, the vast majority are for nonviolent offenses. Trump administration still insists they're terrorists. And, part of your crime can be just crossing the border illegally, or, a parking ticket, or, any of that can be considered. And that's in that 22%. So there was a kind of strange thing. On the 8th of April, the Supreme Court basically upheld Trump's right to leave these prisoners where they were. The Supreme Court halted a lower court's order to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who had been ripped from his home and family in what the administration has called an accidental deportation. It's just a mistake. Justice Sotomayor wrote a powerful dissent after outlining the timeline of events. She was joined by Justices Jackson and Kagan, with Barrett dissenting in part, all sounding the alarm in a powerful dissent. Justice and this is, that's just from the ML King Jr. Center. But Sotomayor says the implication of the government's position is that not only non-citizens, but also United States citizens could be taken off the streets, forced onto planes, and confined to foreign prisons with no opportunity for redress if judicial review is denied unlawfully before removal. And when his spokeslady, Levitt, was asked about it, she was basically like, yeah, we're trying to see if we can deport American citizens if we feel like they have violated our hopes and expectations, because it's not our laws. This is what she had to say.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly, and these are violent repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said if it's legal, right, if there is a legal pathway to do that. He's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency. Reagan.
So obviously we can already do the worst to these people, right? Because both parties are gung-ho on the death penalty and locking people in cages for the rest of their lives, or whatever, we want to do with them. So it really is just about creating the country, the nice Christian nationalist white country they've been hoping for.
I think it's that on some level, because that appeases, a lot of the racist segment in the MAGA crew. They love this shit,
Yep.
Like, hey, brown person that should be here legally, but we got some stuff on you. Get the fuck out of here, But I think there's a second piece to it, which is planting fear in regular American protesters. Like,
yes.
Just when I say regular American, I don't mean to say regular, like just
white. You meant white. I'm joking.
No,
I'm joking.
I knew that was how I was going to come across a little bit.
No.
So
yeah,
but if you remove due process from this whole situation, that opens up a lot of mistakes where, we just scooped up a Palestinian protester at Columbia.
Yep.
And yeah, he's overseas in a prison, whatever, and the chilling effect of that is happening already. Like, you've got all these colleges going after student groups that are protesting Palestine. And this is the next level of it. It's like, okay, now we see, the cop cities, we saw the guy killed in the cop cities, so it's like, yep. And that was under Biden.
Yep.
And that's the plan, is to make it so it's like dangerous to be a protester.
Yeah. And also, there was one American citizen who was just killed in Palestine. I think it was in the West Bank last week. But and this isn't like, but Obama, but like Obama droned an American citizen. Nobody did anything. We've had, Shireen, oh my God, I do this every time. Journalist.
I couldn't think of Croatia.
Oh my God, my brain.
That probably threw you off even more.
Shireen okay. The American journalist who was killed by Israel. We've had World Central Kitchen people killed. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares when the president and his administration do it. It's horrifying. So yeah, now she's just going to say out loud, well, we're looking into it, but they're going to start doing the thought crimes. Let's just go back for a second, because there has been a slight shift, which is and I'm not sure why this happened 2 days later, but the Supreme Court upholds now a court order requiring the Trump administration to bring Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia back to the US after mistakenly deporting him to El Salvador. But they're saying, Abu Akla, thank you. Zainab, that's the second time you've had to save me with that. It's so embarrassing. Deborah, thank you. Shireen Abu Akla, I know that, and I thank you. I am going to write it down so it's always next to me. So, I mean, I guess that's some sort of reversal, but like, he's there. The administration is saying we have no way of forcing the prison to release him. They were paid, you know, there's some like financial exchange, just like with all of our domestic private prisons. So that's just a big whoops. It's just, you know, only the weak will fail. And it's like this tautological argument where like, well, if you failed, you're probably weak. You deserved it on some level.
And this, what the Supreme Court has ordered them to make daily reports on what they're doing too. So I think there's a showdown coming on this. And I think the Trump administration wants it. Because they want to show that no matter what, their efforts are going to be into, maybe they lose the fight in the end, but they're going to go after you hard as fuck and be as cruel as fuck. And that spillover effect is not just on foreigners. It's on regular people who support the foreigners who aren't Christian enough. Like, we're going to go after you. Courts may finally rule against us, but like, we're going to fuck the courts until they finally rule a year later after you've been in a Salvadorian prison for a year of your life.
Right.
That's what they want.
100% that's what they want. I mean, and it, you know, just like Trump saying that, you know, real Jews support him, real Jews support Israel and the genocide. Biden's talking about, you know, who the real Jews and the Zionists are and where they're safe. And when you have other people dictating what's a real citizen, and now they're going to do this whole thing with, so DOGE is working with the Department of Homeland Security. They're also working with AI companies to screen the social media presence of anybody who wants to come to our country, even US citizens who go abroad and are returning. Lawyers are having their phones taken, their computers taken. And there was a woman who, I think she was from Australia, and she went to see her mother was being buried. I'm going to get every detail wrong. But she was like, she'd been in the US for decades on either a work visa or you know, some like all above board, all by the book. But this goes back to them saying, we want to take away birthright citizenship. We want to, you know, naturalized citizens. If we had known that you would ever have a wrongthink in decades when we're doing a genocide, we never would have allowed you to be naturalized, right? Like that's where it's going.
Yeah. Well, we're already incorporating AI into this, like you're saying, and that's the problem. And they've already admitted that AI is going to calculate the risk of you committing a crime. We're putting these situations in place where AI is going to say, "Oh, well, you're poor and you're black." You know, oh, well, that's a couple strikes that make you likely to commit a crime. So maybe letting you travel to Colombia is a bad idea because, you know, black people love cocaine, or, you know, whatever the logic the AI has figured out from the internet.
Or they're going to be anti-capitalist, right? Which is, as Biden said, you're a domestic violent extremist if you are anti-capitalist. Right. And like so many of the statutes and the like crazy laws that they're using to justify this were used first on Black Americans and Jewish Americans, because instead of saying we just don't want blacks and Jews, it was, oh, communism. Right. Like, and now they're using these same thought crime laws from, you know, the McCarran law or whatever from 1957 as the, you know, we're returning to those. We now have Rubio sending out memos to every one of his State Department employees that they are supposed to report on one another for anti-Christian bias. So all of the Jewish people who are still somehow supporting Israel and consider themselves Zionists and think that Republicans, I mean, Biden was just as much, obviously, as Trump, but like that this is all good, good for Jews. They're protecting Jews and they're against anti-Semitism. What do you think is happening now if you're going to be reported on for an anti-Christian bias? The Trump administration has ordered State Department employees to report on any instances of coworkers displaying anti-Christian bias as part of its effort to implement a sweeping new executive order on supporting employees of Christian faith working in the federal government. So don't say happy holidays, folks. The department, according to a copy of an internal cable obtained by Politico, will work with an administration-wide task force to collect information involving anti-religious bias during the last presidential administration, and will collect examples of anti-Christian bias through anonymous employee report forms.
I mean, things are bleak, and this is where the Democrats enabled all of this. They set all of this up by letting the IDF and Zionists label everything as anti-Semitic. Here's the next phase of it. It's anti-Christian. We're a Christian nation. So, you guys got to go. Oh, you had a diversity thing up in your school for second graders saying all colors are equal. Well, that's sort of anti-Christian because I don't know, X,
Jesus
whatever reason
white.
they come up with it.
Yeah.
So take that DEI thing down.
Yep.
Because that's anti-America and anti-Christian and anti-white Christian is what we're really getting at here.
Yeah.
And some of it is I just want to say some of it is an authentic radical Christian funded movement, but most of it, when it's adopted by politicians because they have no souls anyway, is just leaning into that for votes, leaning into that because it works for them. They can leverage it.
Yeah, they can leverage it. Also, they're getting huge amounts of money from people like the Coke industries, right? Who thrive off of the chaos and delegitimizing public education so that everything becomes these, private Christian.
Right. My point is that it isn't really about the beliefs. It's about what they can do with those beliefs. Is totally. The thing.
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with you. It's same with pro-life and pro-choice. A lot of that is just about how they leverage it, how it becomes a wedge issue, how their most faithful voters will show up for it. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Okay. Deport. I just want to make sure we've got okay. I think that's it on that part of the deportation, although this bleeds into the Mahmoud Khalil stuff, which is really, honestly, I did not think we would be at this point. I really didn't. So this was 2 days ago. The judge rules that Mahmoud Khalil can be deported. This is he's not naturalized. I don't care about any of that. People are people and deserve all of the human rights, but I can't remember where he is, if he is on a student visa, but he's married to an American citizen, or if he's a green card holder. There's all I think it's green card naturalized US citizen. So I think he's in there, but his wife, who's a US citizen, who's about to have the baby at any point, who's the birth of whom he is going to miss. And she's in total calamity right now, which isn't healthy for her or her baby. All of this is, it just feels like the cruelty again is the point. What are the worst ways to hurt somebody? If only I had read my own post. Khalil, who has a green card, is a lawful permanent resident. In ordering Khalil's deportation, Rubio relied on a rarely used federal statute from the 1950s. This is what we were just talking about, that played a major role in shaping American immigration during the Cold War, the McCarran-Walter Act, or the Immigration Nationality Act of 1952, gives the Secretary of State authority to decide that a non-citizen's present in the United States threatens the country's foreign policy goals, which Rubio has stated is a global fight against anti-Semitism. And the reason that so many white nationalists and Christo-fascists love Israel is because of the model it set up, not because they love Jews. It's because they love the Zionist project. You know, you had RFK Jr. saying we need to model our borders off of how Israel has constructed its borders between itself and Gaza. That is the white supremacist model for them. And look at how Israel gets away with it. But it's not because they're big lovers of Jewish people. It's because they are lovers of an apartheid genocidal state.
Yeah, the worst people in the world are pretty much white supremacists, and we're leaning into white supremacy left and right. I mean, like I said, I don't think most of it from leadership is because they really want to be white supremacists per se. They just want to make money. They want to stay in power. They want to use this white supremacy movement that MAGA has leaned into. And the Democrats' failure to represent equality, which is the thing they're ditching the most in the next cycle. They're ditching all the DEI stuff. They're saying the woke stuff was bad, that was the barrier to stand up to this stuff. That was the line of like, at least Democrats represented the vulnerable people more than the other side. And Biden and his administration threw that out the hardest, and the Democratic Party ditched that the mostest, which leaves us with, there is no defense of this going on. There is none of it. So it's us. We have to, I don't want to say form militias, but like, we have to be prepared to defend. We have to be prepared to defend the violation of human rights on some level, regardless of the law.
Yeah, because the law, like slavery was legal, right? Separation of black and white schools and segregation was legal. There's lots of things that have been legal and they're wrong. It doesn't matter what's legal. Laws are arbitrary. They only serve to protect the people in power.
Yes, this is where I'm going with it. Where Zaina is saying it. We need a modern underground railroad. I'm not saying, I don't even like guns, right? So I don't mean to make it about militias and guns or things like that. But we need a way to protect people from all the evil shit that's happening locally a lot already. So prepare for that.
100%. 100%. So here's Secretary Kristi Noem. Mahmoud Khalil hates the United States and what we stand for, so his removal should come as welcome news. It's a privilege to be granted a visa or a green card to live and study in the United States of America. When you advocate for violence, glorify and support terrorists that relish the killing of Americans and harass Jews, that privilege should be revoked and you should not be in this country. Good riddance. He never did any of that. And also, what does the United States stand for? Like, truly, what do these people think the United States stands for? White Christians. I don't know. I mean, like, what do they, so here, and then here's the thought crime deal. They're going to begin screening aliens' social media activity for anti-Semitism. Today, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services will begin considering aliens' anti-Semitic activity on social media and the physical harassment of Jewish individuals as grounds for denying immigration benefit requests, which not one of these people has been accused of. And by the way, like, those were all lies anyway. All of those, any violence that happened at those encampments, almost, I think it's like 99%. I'm going to make up a number, but I can't even remember one occurrence where it was initiated by the pro-Palestinian protesters, many of whom were Jewish, by the way.
They were not in it. There was no violence. There's been zero violence from pro-Palestinian protesters, largely because these protest groups have learned to cultivate a space where If you want to talk to somebody here, there's a procedure for who to talk to. Even like
they're very disciplined. Yeah.
No one is going to shut you down if you're a violent Palestinian protester than the Palestinian protesters, because they know this is being, they're going to take one event that happens and blow it up into some massive thing and say babies were beheaded at Columbus, you know, like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just, so
all those videos, you know, of the people who are like, I am Jewish, and they'd stand there and be like, here I am, and all the pro-Palestinian encampment students and protesters would just ignore them. They were just looking to have that happen to them. Yeah. All right. Should we spin before we move on to some of the, or should we just like be done with First Amendment stuff? Okay, always spin. That's always
when in doubt, spin the wheel. I need some joy.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Finally. Jeez Louise. Okay, wait a second. I'm trying to do both things at the same time.
Yeah, baby.
Just because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to remove that while I fill my glass up entirely and then spin it.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. Another pup.
Oh, I like this. Truth to Tweets send us this one. So thank you.
Truth to Tweet.
I'm sitting here in the boring room. It's just another rainy Sunday afternoon. I'm wasting my time, I got nothing to do. I'm hanging around, I'm waiting for you, but nothing ever happens. And I wonder, I'm driving around in my car. I'm driving too fast, I'm driving too far. I'd like to change my point of view. I feel so lonely, I'm waiting for you, but nothing ever happens. And I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see is just a yellow lemon tree. I'm turning my head up and down. I'm turning around, and all that I can see is just another lemon tree. Sing da 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 dee da 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 dee da da.
I love that. That's like, I feel those cats to my soul.
You are more OCD. I'm only OCD about like straight lines and things like paintings and things.
And the time, like the second it turns 5, Pat's like, "Shh, stop! We're going. We gotta go.
I'm very on
time.
Yeah, you're
which
right.
I like being that. Thank you, Truth to Tweets, always sending us cool videos.
Good stuff.
All right, so this I didn't even know who Miss Rachel was, but apparently this has become a huge issue, and the Stop Anti-Semitism crowd is coming after this. She's a children's YouTuber. I don't know if Miss Rachel is Jewish, but I do know that the creator of her YouTube channel, Marta Kaufman, who is one of the producers, showrunners on Friends, is Jewish. So if that means anything, but anyway, this is the source, or the genesis. This is the point that made all of the anti-Semitism crowd crazy.
This is a prayer for children in Gaza. This is a prayer for children in Israel. This is a prayer for all the children. Please stop hurting them. This is a prayer for all the civilians. This is a prayer for all the hostages. This is a prayer for all the innocent. Please stop hurting them. This is a prayer for all the leaders. This is a prayer for all in charge. This is a prayer for all the presidents. Please stop hurting them.
Okay, so this is from Stop Anti-Semitism. Stop Anti-Semitism is calling on Attorney General Bondi to investigate if Miss Rachel is being funded by a foreign party to push anti-Israel propaganda to skew public opinion. Since 10/7, Miss Rachel has transformed into an amplifier of Hamas propaganda, it goes on, broadcasting to 20 million plus followers across her platforms. She has promoted a starving child from Gaza photo, which was actually a cystic fibrosis case. Hamas's false stat of 14,000 plus kids killed. 72% of deaths are combat-aged men. Fake cold deaths in Gaza, photos circulating at this time online, were a frostbite taken from Wikipedia while the temperatures were warm. Claims Israel is indiscriminately bombing kids despite Israel taking extensive measures. I mean, Jesus. Accusations of Israel blocking aid in violation of the Geneva Convention, whatever. It's all just lies. They're just propagating lies. They are so upset that she just said, I don't want, and she said it about Israel also.
You could go down that list of bullshit from that anti-Semitism group, debunk all of them, right? So like they're saying, oh, well, a lot of those kids were of war age. Well, so like their fighting age is what, 14 or something, you know, like, okay, so they're not kids because they're like 15 or something, like what? But to put her on a list for basically saying, hey, let's just be nice to everybody. Like, it's not even anti-Israel. She's not even being aggressive against Israel. She's being the most neutralish.
Talk about bare minimum.
Yeah. And that's,
I mean, no, I don't mean to take it away from her, but like, come on. Yeah.
They're going after her for this little thing because her little fucking Palestinians are equal human beings bullshit is bugging them because it's popular. People listen to that and they're like, oh yeah, maybe we should not kill any of the kids, you know, like, oh, that makes sense. Maybe all the hostages should be released. Oh, all? You mean even the Hamas ones?
They're not hostages, they're prisoners. They must have done something wrong. You see what happens there? And she did get support from I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong. The librarian we've shown before, but I don't know if it's Michael or Michal Threets.
I say Michael. I think it's Michael.
Michael. Okay.
There are people who take time out of their day to email me, to message me, to say that they are going to stop following me, stop supporting me, because I support Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel, who literally sang, "This is a prayer for all the children. This is a prayer for all the civilians. Please stop hurting them." All the children, all the kids, all the people. Miss Rachel wants them to be safe in their homes, together with their loved ones. She wants them to be able to read books together, to have story time, to eat their snacks, to drink their water, to simply be. Miss Rachel wants them to be safe, to be protected, to live in a world together, hoping for a better tomorrow. That's Miss Rachel. I will always support our friend, Miss Rachel, forever. Yes.
Sorry, I was muted. That did makes me want to cry because he's like legitimately like,
yeah.
And not to bring this back to me again, because Croatia, remember I went to Croatia. That's very important. But I didn't even know this. I was all into this guy, and his public library was in my hometown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's like, you know, I had another, Fairfield. So it was like a weird thing when I found that out after I'd already learned about him online. You know, it's just like,
yeah, he's so lovely. And he's a librarian, Jen. His name is, I think, Michael Threets is how you pronounce his name. And he had his own, I don't know if it was just TikTok or Twitter or YouTube. I don't know, but his own like library channel. And then
excessively wholesome, like so wholesome that I normally would hate it, but you could just see his heart is in it, and he exposed his own trauma and
vulnerability, like what he went.
Yeah, he's just so
Yeah.
he puts himself out there with all his psychological stuff going on, and
But like he just reads sometimes on his video channel, or he's a librarian and he'll talk about books and how important they are. And when kids come to the library, I try to disrupt their looking down and make sure that they make eye contact and ask them about their day. And of course he was bullied offline, anyway. Okay. So the person who is rushing to support the Stop Anti-Semitism is none other than Elise Stefanik, who is, sorry, I got to get her, wants to, lead with moral authority and supports them in their fight against anti-Semitism. She is the person who just hours after a horrifying slaughter of Black churchgoers, writes, Democrats desperately want, by a white supremacist, Democrats desperately want wide open borders and mass amnesty for illegals, allowing them to vote. Like the vast majority of Americans, Republicans want to secure our borders and protect election integrity. And, as was written about in this, I don't think was the New York Times, but all over the place, that 2 days after this white supremacist mass shooting, she pushes the Great Replacement rhetoric, which, by the way, was used and is often used against Jews. So like it's not even the hypocrisy, because I don't care what, it's just so grotesque, because these are white supremacist, Christian nationalist fascists. That's what they are.
And there is no Great Replacement strategy. We just put that out there. Like, you're not replacing Americans with people from another country. Like Americans, because Americans, first off, are indigenous people first, and then we came in here. We were the Great Replacement, right? From the jump. So, like, don't get biblical with your Great Replacement theory anyway, because we are the ones that don't belong here. But but there's you can't track any voting. There's no evidence for any of this bullshit. It's just leaning into white supremacy.
That's all it is, which is why they all love Israel. Has nothing to do with Jews. It's just all bad stuff. I just want to see if we have any other stuff. No. Okay. All right. I mean, we didn't even talk about anything with Israel, but I would like to just highlight this doctor who's done she's so brave. She's gone back to Gaza several times, which that in itself is just so tremendous. But every time she is on cable news, and I'm shocked that they keep inviting her back, she calls them out for their complicity in this genocide. She's an American citizen. I'm sure that the next time she goes and tries to come back, she'll be, arrested or deported for wrongthink. And they'll be like, well, you've got some Palestinian blood in you, or Arab blood in you, or they'll trump something up.
That's where they're headed.
Yeah, that is where we're headed. But Dr. Tanya Hodge-Hazan, she's amazing. We've shown her before, but this was her latest appearance on CNN.
And that night on March 18th, when Israel viciously broke the ceasefire, and just to be clear, that they had been breaking the ceasefire all along. We were receiving casualties even during that period. It was just relatively fewer. We received patients with gunshot wounds. We received patients from missile strikes. We were receiving fewer war-related casualties, but we were still really receiving them. But on March 18th, that early morning, when I say terror shook Gaza, I don't know how else to describe it. Christian, I want to share this with your audience, even though it's embarrassing to myself, but I think it helps people understand the level of terror that is being inflicted on the Palestinian people by the state of Israel. The entire strip shook, that roaring sounds. And I've been in war zones before. I was in Gaza last year when there wasn't a ceasefire. I awoke from sleep and I started shivering and my teeth rattled the way your teeth rattle when you're cold. It's never happened to me before. It was a visceral reaction to being awoken from sleep with pure terror. And it took me about 20 minutes, even after I rationalized what was happening, put my scrubs on, was getting ready to run down to the ER, expecting the wave of casualties that was going to come in with this. It took me about 20 minutes to calm down. And now I understand why all of these children come into the emergency department shivering. Last year, part of me thought it was that they were cold. Now it's terror, Christian. It's terror being inflicted on a people who have been on the receiving end of some of the worst atrocities of our lifetimes. And honestly, it's going to be a shame that we're going to have to reckon with as history is written day after day. And both countries like the United States and media agencies that are manufacturing consent for this, using misleading language, hiding certain narratives, discrediting the few journalists that are actually covering these atrocities. We're going to have to reckon with this.
Yep, we are. She's great. She's great. And the other people who are great are the Houthis, who say that they will stop when Israel stops its genocide. And they are actually adhering to the provisions of Article 1 of the Convention of the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. This article mandates that all parties to the convention are under obligation to prevent the occurrence of genocide and to punish those responsible for its commission. So all of the countries that fucking Netanyahu has just visited, including our own, the airspace that he flew over, every single one of those countries, Belgium, I think it was it Germany and Belgium? I don't even know, but like European countries, our country, they had a responsibility to arrest him.
They did, and if we had international justice as we set up in the world and tell the world to follow, the sanctions coming back on this country would be crippling all of us.
Yep.
Economically. And we deserve them. I mean, we don't as people, but that sanctions are bad because it punishes people, not
the rulers
who's involved. But
it puts pressure, right?
That's what should happen according to international law. According to international law, we should be a pariah state right now.
And our leaders should be shown the wall, taken to the Hague. And do you want to, do you want to just,
I think if we get into much more, we're going to go off on,
it's going to go too late.
We're going to go very long. So I think maybe we kind of tighten it up.
I think we're gonna button it up. So just for those who maybe don't know, I'm gonna read just so I don't get anything wrong, because I can see from my cheeks that the wine, my third glass, has hit my cheeks. Bella Ciao is an Italian song commonly used as a hymn of resistance against injustice and oppression. The overarching theory is that it was first started as a folk song in the late 19th century, sung by female workers of the paddy fields in northern Italy in protest against harsh working conditions, but it has become the anthem of anti-fascist movements everywhere. And we started with music. We're going to go out with music. I am so happy to be back with all of you. These are really horrific times. So I am grateful that I get to be in community with all of you as we endure them.
I will just second your wise words before I say something dumb, but I appreciate you being back. You are, you keep me sane, as do the people in our chat. Thank you.
Cheers, everybody. Keep punching up. See you Wednesday.
Good morning. Good morning, my friends. You know, I just record this video to tell you we are okay. Everything is okay. Last night was a lot of bombing and a lot of drones. So last night I tried to record a song, but I can't because the sound was horrible. So I'm going to sleep. They stop. Then I'm trying to record. They began to bombing. So it was horrible. So this video for you guys. My family is okay and I'm okay, thanks God, and love you all. Send you love. Thank you.